Wall of the right ventricle versus the wall of the left ventricle? Yes. The walls of the left ventricle are much thicker. Yes. Because remember, it's the left ventricle that pushes the blood to the entire body, right? It needs to be able to push the blood with a lot of force, a lot of pressure. So it's got very thick muscular walls. The right ventricle only pushes the blood to the lungs, which are right next to the heart. So they don't have to push with a lot of pressure, a lot of force. So that's why the walls of the right ventricle are very thin. Now, let me know how long you want me to go here. If I look at the, if I open up the left ventricle here, you see this structure right here. See that I'm pulling here? So the top part here, this is the left atrium. The bottom part here is the left ventricle. When the blood makes its way down from the atrium to the ventricle, it passes through what's called the atrioventricular valve. This is the valve that, when the heart contracts, prevents the blood from being pushed back into the atrium. Otherwise, you just have the blood being pushed up and down. You have to have valves that, once the blood goes down into the ventricle, next time it beats, it's got to be pushed out of the heart and not back up where it came to. So you can come closer. So you have these valves that close at the right time, so that once the blood has been pushed down, it gets pushed out through, see here we have, this is where it gets pushed out, right through the aorta here. And these are the valves. And notice the valves are tied to the bottom. See these, what look like parachute strings. I don't know how well you can see them, but these parachute strings, they're called the chordae tendineae. They make sure that those valves, once they close, that they don't bust open, because the pressure that the left ventricle puts out is actually pretty strong. And if it was just those flaps, it would bust back open, and the blood would go in the wrong direction. And so you have these very strong filaments here that anchor or tether the valves down. And I don't know, these things are kind of flapped closed, but this is the atrium here. I don't know if you can see. It's not very big. So do you guys have any questions? So we looked at the two ventricles, the two atrium. We talked about the left side and the right side, and yes?